You use like different like so, but if you watch the video, but also now that's for how you so yeah, very because you think off the audience, after we think you're getting, it feels like you're getting on the same time. It's actually just me. In a production program. Yeah. Sorry, that's just my little joke. Are you one of the longest? You too. I have oh, yeah. Looks good. Go for it. Go for it. Investment. He actually gets the time to job. He's like the head equities trader. Did that all the years. So I used to like his so I started marketing. So then it's in Virginia. It's funny that in the script. Everybody knows it. I got some ready. I guess something is yes, you know,
How's it going, Doug?
Hey, Jesse, what's up, buddy?
Thank you.
Binocs is a big company.
Hey, how are you?
Oh,
Nice to meet you.
cameraman.
Oh, it's live?
Live stream, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, man.
You have a stand?
Coming.
Okay, I was gonna say your arms to stand.
Yeah, I know, man.
Airport is too far. By opening when you API, you have to go to Bangalore. I just like Bangalore. Better than Bangalore. Not it's way long. I have a possible you have one kind of but when it can happen, it's better. I very careful for 10 kilometers, it takes you an hour. Most of the India, so we travel to Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, in Park. Most of my travel, if I have 1 or 2 meetings, I go in the morning, come back in the evening. That's what I can. It just doesn't happen. And especially when you look at Bangalore, you have city, then you have electronic city, and then you have white field. So you don't have organizations, electronic city, then you have white field. You have one meeting, you can't do them.
What's that? It's my background, but I want to get the other two screens.
Same topic as anything else. Now we're not.
Get up.
Hello. What's up? Hello. Say hi to the live stream. Hello. Come on.
You have a video. Russia and not right? And
That's literally what I said. I think we need to think about it. Look at this.
Yeah. The question now is like,
I have something
somewhere parody or email.
money, you want to balance. You want to balance. I mean, like, drop that. That's their daily clock. That's like
Hi. Nice to meet you too.
But there's companies that so this so much we start
Already have it, so we have wouldn't even thought to have
Inside Starbucks.
So when there was like a.
Thank you.
So basically, all the batteries. Like the stuff that they use. You don't have.
No, I mean, and he was a kid. The reason he made that comment, he was also a kid that had a lot of self-doubt, way ton of self-doubt. And that's it doesn't always materialize, you know? No, I mean, like that.
Sorry, guys.
All kids have
It sounds exactly the same.
It works out. We'll see. And this person is like the data and AI. Tuned in, but this is
never stops.
Never know. I think it's a wedding. Well, no.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I'm gonna be right behind your whole screen here.
Oh, you're good, man.
Oh, good.
Yeah, sorry, I just keep backing up into you.
I know, you're good.
Just trying to figure out
The
things.
SaaS ideas or the looking into. What's the not exactly. My technical area of expertise is that. Editing tools at scale. So I thought it's I thought of that. What's the problem? Oh, I completely misunderstood you. Okay, God. So tell me what's your idea for this? It gets better. Yes, use the old one. These things. Everybody else. It's on a.
Pardon me. No, you're good. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, it's not.
Yeah. Totally on this last time. That's why.
Yes, and then.
Specialized in that space. And they'll find it.
It's like, it would.
Yeah.
Wild, yeah.
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 Someone.
I like it.
Nice to see you. How you doing? Welcome back. Appreciate that. Do we have enough seats? Are we going to be good here? I think so. Over there. Come hang out over here. All right. I'm sorry for the slight delay in getting started today. Welcome to the 5th AI Demo Night. Looking forward to hosting you all. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing here, and then we'll get into some of the startup demos and the talk with Jen. So, my name is Aaron. I run an organization called TechUnited New Jersey. How many have been to one of these AI Demo Nights before? Oh, a bunch. Well, welcome to the newcomers. Thank you for the returning, repeat callers. We appreciate that. TechUnited we're a nonprofit trade group that's built to empower entrepreneurs, innovators, and instigators to build a better future for all. I believe strongly that a lot of that happens at like a grassroots level with things like this, where we're showing off technology and learning from experienced entrepreneurs. And so that's part of what tonight is about. The organization is surrounded by members in the full life cycle of the innovation and entrepreneurship journey, and we help them find talent, give them thought leadership opportunities, share what they're working on, connect with corporate partners, etc. So if you're not already a member of TechUnited, we would welcome your involvement. And you can join as an individual, your organization can join. We have a variety of events throughout the year. Anybody have been to Propelify? Any of you know that? Some? Wow, only a few of you. Well, large 5,000 person innovation festival on the waterfront in Hoboken. We've been doing this, would have been our 10th year, but we're not doing it this year. This year we're going to launch an AI summit instead. We host other major marquee experiences like our Catalyst Awards, and we have a variety of other things like mentorship and advocacy for policy I'm going to talk about in a minute. We create content to share more about what's going on in our community outside of just the walls of these events, and more importantly outside the geography of just New Jersey. We use technology to connect our members around in ways that they can help one another. And I mentioned a minute ago some policies that we are advocating for, so I want to make sure that those of you who are new, I know the rest of you have heard this spiel, so I'll keep it quick, but these are two very important elements of things that we think we need to advance more startup growth in New Jersey. Angel investor tax credit. So if you're an angel investor and you write a check to a startup, states have programs to incentivize that investment. It's called the Angel Investor Tax Credit. In New Jersey, if somebody writes me a check for $100,000 to help me going, they get 20% back. Whether they live in New Jersey or not, they get $20,000 back for an incentive to take that very early stage risk. That sounds awesome. It is awesome in theory, except the national average of those programs is 34%. And so and New York's is 25, Maine's is 60. So many other states have significantly higher incentives and therefore are seeing more investment dollars go into their startups. So we have a bill introduced to raise that to 35%. If you want to help out, you can sign a letter of support saying that you think this would be a good thing for New Jersey. The other, which I would say is significantly more impactful, is called QSBS, stands for Qualified Small Business Stock. Same concept. Federal government has a program that if you sell your business, typically tech startups are the ones that are targeted, the first $10 million of capital gains are tax-free. That's an enormous incentive for venture firms, the funds, those who invest in those funds, the LPs, entrepreneurs, and early stage investors. 45 states around the country have something that matches that at the state level. New Jersey is one of the 5 outliers. So we are getting our asses kicked in general, and these two policies are not helping. Specifically, we are raising money for both of these initiatives because we're spending so much time educating legislatures on the importance of these bills. We have a crowdfunding campaign going. I won't point them out, but there are people in this room who have been very generous in donating to that campaign. If we've raised $27,000 on our way to raising 100 as our first milestone. We have a window of opportunity between now and the end of this summer to get these bills passed. If you're interested in helping to support that financially or otherwise, we would very much appreciate it. We put an enormous amount of resources into making these bills a reality, and there's a very clear ROI on these efforts and how they'll help you individually, potentially if you have an exit or you're an angel, and how we can drive more entrepreneurship around New Jersey. Okay, moving on. We run a women and minority business owners mentorship cohort. It is active right now. If you are interested in being a mentee or a mentor, we'd invite you to get involved. You could find me, or Keely may have stepped out for a minute. You could tell Veronica, who was at the table over there, but we'd love to have you involved in that program. We also, TechUnited started an AI studio called BetterFutureLabs. Mark and Justin, obviously well integrated into the community tonight, sitting amongst everyone. Lead the efforts of BetterFutureLabs. We build companies from scratch using AI. They're B2B focused. We have some super awesome projects out there. Anything you guys want to add? Who do you want to talk to? Yeah, great. Meet Mark.
Hey everybody. So we are building a few businesses and we can use your help. One of the businesses that we're looking at has to do with the private investigations industry. If you know somebody in the private investigations industry that would be interested in advising us, somebody who has long time experience in that industry, I'd love to speak with them. Please come and find me. Maybe there's an opportunity for them to be an advisor or work with us in some way, shape, or form. That would be super helpful. So thank you for that. The other one is we are building a business in the preclinical, pre-indication stage of drug development using AI. If you know what that is, good for you. And for those of you who do, we're looking for people to advise us on that specific project. We are applying AI to disease indication analysis, very accelerated and efficient process. If you know somebody that you think would be a good addition to that team or might be able to advise us or have some expertise, we'd love to speak with them. So please reach out.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. If you just have ideas in general of ways that AI can disrupt the industry, talk to Mark and Justin. We're not an accelerator. We're a studio, meaning we build from scratch and are a co-founder in the process. So if you're looking at building it yourself, you can still definitely do that. But if you're interested in potentially a co-founder in the process, talk to these guys. Before we continue, you may notice we are in a new venue. We're here for the first time in this Fiserv Rutgers collaborative space. With a very generous partnership with Karen and the Rutgers team. Can we give Karen a big round of applause? Thank you for having us here. This space is very new. It's the result of a partnership they have with Fiserv on driving more innovation around the campus. Is that a fair representation, specifically around fintech, talent development? If you're looking to engage with this campus, talk to Karen. She knows everyone, not just here, but sort of around New Jersey. But they've been a fantastic partner, and we're hoping to do more here actually in partnership with BetterFutureLabs and hosting more office hours, educational programs, etc. So keep an eye out for some of those things. But thank you again for hosting us tonight. Yeah, we like the times. Okay, so what are we doing here tonight? The goal for tonight is for you to spark connections and hopefully have some inspiring ideas. How many of you have met someone new so far? Okay, that's good. If your hand didn't go up, you can't leave until you say hi to someone new. That's part of your assignment. It's a friendly crowd, I promise. People want to help you. Just to get a sense of who is here, so we did the first time here. Who identifies primarily as an entrepreneur? Okay. Investors? A couple. Who's working full-time on their own startup? Fantastic. Who thinks they came from, who's with Rutgers? A few, great. We got a few, happy to have you. Spread the word if you think this is worthwhile. We want to be doing more here, and part of the goal is to get more of the Rutgers Newark folks in the room, so please help us do that if we can. Who thinks they traveled from really far away to get to Newark today? Who came from the farthest away? Where'd you come from? I heard nothing. Passaic County? Where'd you come from? Philly, now we're talking. How about you? Philly. Another Philly guy. Did you come just for this? Oh, you're supposed to say yes anyway. That really hurts. Anybody further than Philly? Not so much? What's your name? Aaron. I'm also Aaron. What's your name? Gretchen. Can we give a big round of applause to them for crossing state lines, coming all the way to Newark? Which obviously they did just for this event, right, Aaron? Okay. There are a few rules. These things take a lot of work to do. There's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes, so we just appreciate that you take them seriously. A lot of people today updated their RSVPs, which is what we ask of you, so that we have a good sense of how many people will actually be here. We do have this rule that if you don't show up, you don't get to come back. So please respect that rule. It's only $8, but it's really about making sure we have a professional community that treats these things seriously, and that's the culture of the room. We do have a good time. This is a lighthearted event, but we do appreciate that you take it seriously. So thank you for being here. Meet and help your neighbors. You already heard that rule. And leave feedback. So if there are things you think we can do better, let us know. If there are other startups that you think should pitch, or new style of the format, or anything else, would love the constructive criticism, and we'll see what we can do. So this is your chance. This is the part of the show where you have a chance to stand up and do something similar to what Mark did. Hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm working on this, and I could use help with this. And part of the deal here, though, which people they don't always follow, is you need to offer something. So I can help you with this, and I'm looking for help with this. And contact me, find me. I just say, like, find me, I'm in, like, the yellow shirt or something, because no one remembers email addresses. But there were a lot of entrepreneurs in the room, so you should have some ask if you're working on something. Something should be top of mind that the rest of us can help you with. So who wants to go first? Yeah, go ahead. You can stand up. I think it's a little loud in there, so we'll pass this mic around.
Thank you. Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Idor Sobea. I need help with strategic partnership and investment. I am working on, I have an MVP for HIPAA compliant real-time language translation software for healthcare, especially drug research and healthcare research. I actually do have somebody for you. She's big globally, and that is her niche. Global research disease processes as they affect global audience. So that's my offer. Yes, so I'm in healthcare, and contact me on LinkedIn. I have a podcast, actually 2 podcasts, on shelling medicine, along the lines of what you're working on. I have health experts globally come on, and we discuss the disparities and inequities in healthcare. So nice, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Who wants to go next? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Zed Abrams. I'm doing my own startup called Iterate. It's the word iterate with AI in the middle. We're essentially building tools for product managers to help them with their workflow, but potentially replacing product managers in the future. However, it's also useful for entrepreneurs as well. So we automate things like running PRDs and user stories, but also Lean Canvas and a lot of other strategy documents. We launched that 2 weeks ago. I'd be really happy if any of this sounds somewhat useful for you. You can try it out and give me some feedback. It's free for 2 weeks, and if you really bother me, maybe I can give you another one for free or anything. It's no problem.
That's pretty good. We need a little bit more of an offer, but we'll let that one slide. Your offer could be the extended free trial, which is really an advertisement, but we'll let that go in the sake of time.
Hey, look, I have to try.
You do, but you also need to follow these rules. You're up. Behind you, then you're next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly Fitzpatrick. I'm Associate Vice President at the County College of Morris. I've been there for over 15 years. I need help with, we are administering an AI industry survey in collaboration with the AI Princeton Hub and some other members of Microsoft, really looking to have the breadth of where people are in their AI journey in industry and what needs you have in AI to better align the education needs with the industry needs. I can help you with students who are very eager to either have internships or job opportunities at your companies. They are knowledgeable in R, Python, SQL, and Tableau, and you can find me today. I'm glad to live it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Hayon. I'm an epidemiologist. I specialize in preventing mass shooting and pilot-initiated crashes. I'm sure you're all aware it's a very serious problem. I discovered a biomarker in the eyes of the perpetrators of these incidents. You can see it clearly. And I have an app and a patent to image it. So doctors will download the app and use it on their phone and image the biomarker in their patient's eyes. And once they see it, they can modify their medication.
Your ask is and your offer is?
My offer is to...
You're a repeat buyer, so let's get to it.
Help you with any of your epidemiological or statistical analysis that you need, consulting in healthcare, or patents. I prosecuted my own patents. I have 2. I prosecute both for myself, and I can help you with that as well.
Great. Excellent. Anybody else? Go ahead.
software companies. I need help with, we're developing internally a way of tracking whether generative AI sources are pulling our clients' information. So we're trying to decide how to feed information into the Gen AI bots and see and then test how much is coming out. So if you know anybody who can do some down and dirty AI development that sounds like that, send me their name. I can help with Broadpath donates 5% of all of our billable hours to young startups that are just getting started who can't really afford us yet. And we do advisory services. So if there's any startups or founders that just want to know what should I do with PR, what should I be doing with industry analyst relations, how do I get content written that someone's going to care about, let me know. We're happy to have what we call cup of coffee consulting. And you can find me at broadpathpr.com.
Fantastic. I think there was someone, yeah, in the back.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Havitz. I'm the founder of AnswerQuest. I'm about 2 weeks away from a commercial launch of an AI chatbot for schools, for parents and staff, to help them navigate the closed loop information that goes out to parents and be able to get answers quickly on what's happening in school. Looking for anyone who has experience in distributor contracts and can help us. We're about to go to market, so the pricing. In exchange, I offer 23 years of corporate experience working up the road here at Prudential in DD and corporate venture capital. I also speak Japanese. And happy to do it.
All right. Fantastic. Any others? No more hands? All right. Can we get a round of applause for everyone who stood up? So here is the agenda for the rest of the evening. We've got, unfortunately, there are 2 demos. One had a family emergency, so we have 2 demos instead of 3. Sorry about that. You were super excited. And then I'm going to have a fireside chat with Jennifer Hill on her experience in the tech world from all things legal and more, actually. And then there will be trivia. So the startups are competing for this actual trophy from my childhood that's been rebranded AI Demo Night Audience Choice Award. So you're going to vote later. And this, yeah, we can clap on that, sure. I was like, it was like 20, 30, 800 years ago. And then this candle, which is, we developed as an annual holiday gift called the Crypto Candle. And so one of you will win that for the trivia that comes a little bit later. So with that, I think we are ready to get started with the first company. Where is he? Somewhere in here? Is this the one who couldn't make it? All right, we'll pretend that that person isn't here. And what's that?
Is he banned?
Hey, we'll have to find out about this family emergency situation. Hold on a minute. Then we will do instead Vasitum. There we go. Can we give him a big round of applause?
Am I using his? There you go.
So he has 5 minutes sharp to present, and then we're going to do some Q&A. And there is a speech coach here to actually share some critique on public speaking ability. So, and since we have a little bit of extra time, we might go a little longer in Q&A. So, please tee up your questions. And there is a. You have the. Oh, you got the clicker. Great. You're set.
Hey, good evening, everyone. As you see, I'm going to talk about recruitments today. A function which technically has moved from a back office small support function to the boardroom discussion today. I'm sure each one of us have been part of recruitment ecosystem somehow, either while getting hired or hiring. Anyone who's not been part of recruitment ecosystem? I will try and keep it simple so that you can connect and appreciate what I'm talking about. So before I talk about what we've built at Vasitum, which is our AI platform, I think it makes sense for me to talk about who I am and why we decided to build this platform. So I've been an entrepreneur for over 2 decades. Started my first company back in early 2001. Lost a lot of money, but thankfully did not lose the confidence. Started my another company, which I sold off, and then started Maven Workforce, which I still run. Maven Workforce is operational in US, Europe, and in India. That's a conventional recruitment, staffing, and executive search firm. Have been helping companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Accenture, IBM, and so on and so forth while we've been working with these companies, I got exposed to hiring challenges pretty much across the globe. And that's how I realized that hiring as a function, one, is broken. So when I say broken, a recruiter on an average hops on anywhere between 5 to 7 platforms to do one job, which is recruitment. And not only that, they do a lot of manual processing at every stage of recruitment life cycle. And that's what made me think, while the function has transformed from a back office small function to a boardroom discussion, but we still operate like an old school, right? Which means that when you look at recruiter, they spend time doing a lot of manual processing and hopping on multiple platforms, which means their journey has been very, very complex, complicated, and troublesome. So that made me think, why not build something which, one, brings these broken pieces of recruitment ecosystem together, and not only does that, but also automate each one of them to make recruitment a lot more efficient. That's how we decided to build a platform which is going to be impacting a $1 trillion industry. Today, if we look at recruitment industry, staffing industry, both put together, is sitting at about $1 trillion and is growing exponentially. That's how we built a platform called Vasitum. Vasitum is an end-to-end AI recruitment platform. Imagine all you have to do is give, Vasi is the AI chatbot. All you have to do, give your prompt, what you're looking for. Vasi goes out, posts that job, creates a job, basically basis the input you give. After creating the job post, Vasi posts it on multiple job platforms. Not only that, Vasi goes out on internet, finds candidates. After finding candidates, Vasi does stack ranking, which means, let's say Vasi went out and found 5,000 candidates, then Vasi will do stack ranking to find top 50, 60, 70, 100 candidates. Vasi will initiate a discussion with these candidates to screen and identify if these candidates match the requirement or not. After finding those top candidates, Vasi will initiate a communication with these candidates. Do the screening, which is the first round which recruiters do. After qualifying these candidates on screening, Vasi will initiate assessments to make sure what they're claiming, how much depth they've got in those skills and the experience and the background and so on and so forth. Once they qualify those assessments, Vasi will schedule interviews with the hiring managers. After the interviews, Vasi will collect feedback to create scorecards and report cards to help data-driven decision making, which eventually will help in better quality of hire. Once that's done, Vasi will collect documents, validate those documents, and push them for background check. After the background check, Vasi will roll out an offer, get the acceptance, and push everything into HRMS. Everything end-to-end under one platform with a flavor of automation. So that's Vasitum. I know it's a demo night, and I was supposed to give you a demo, but I thought if I give you a demo, you may not be able to appreciate the overall journey. So that's how I decided to tell you what we are doing, why we are doing, and how it is impacting. But happy to run a demo for any one of you. Demo is not possible in 5 minutes, right? But happy to run it for any one of you. We've had great traction thus far when we look at overall journey. We've got paying customers already. We have over 20,000 live jobs. We have 1.3 million registered candidates on the platform. So thus far the journey has been pretty encouraging, and I'm looking forward to further bigger stories. Anyone who's part of recruitment system, who's looking at future of workforce, or is willing to invest or wanting to invest in this area, happy to talk about it. Please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much. Any questions, please?
Who's your winning target?
Competitors?
Like, yeah, who's your company? Are you have it open to all types?
We should talk to that broadcast lady and the county college lady.
Particular companies that
Great.
you're really into. This is number one question. Number two question: when you have mentioned, when you have mentioned doing background check, are you doing the background check?
Love that you got up and did the patch, by the way.
Say the resume that has been uploaded to the system, or based on the acceptance of the other company?
Good questions. Yeah, thank you. Two questions. So let me start with first one first. The way we built this platform,
Can you just make sure to repeat the question because people can't really hear?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there are two questions largely. The first question he had was if this platform is for a particular industry or the size or the function in any organization. And the second question he had was around background checks. So when we do background checks automatically, do we do it ourselves or do we partner with other service providers based on the customer need, right? So while addressing the first question, the way we build this platform, it's industry agnostic, which means whether you are an insurance company, you're a tech player, or you are a retail giant. It works smoothly for each one of them. And ideally, the way my experience largely has been with large enterprises, but there the entry barrier is too high. We've kind of made this platform for the middle market right now, which does not have solutions to be able to impact top 3 KPIs in the recruitment industry. And those 3 KPIs are time to hire, cost per hire, and the quality of hire, right? So our focus is largely around middle market. That's answer to your first question. The second question on background check, we don't want to do that. We are not doing it. There are a lot of bigger, better players who've done it. All we'll do, create a package, send it to them, get the report, validate that report, push it. We don't want. We are a tech platform. We like to prefer to be that. So it's only partnerships there. Yeah. Thank you.
Here.
Hello, everybody. So my question is, you said that the AI-based screens the whole internet, find the best candidates, and then rank them on the list. So my question is that when you rank them on the list, based on what features does you rank them, and how can you? Because some resumes might be biased, or they might be inaccurate data. Some might have like more information that they might be buying that they're actually proficient in some technology or skill. So how does the AI do that to be as accurate as possible and not be biased?
Great question, Amit. So there are stages. If you would have, the question is that when our chatbot Vasi, our AI agent, goes out on the internet and finds candidates, Vasi found, let's say, 100 candidates who are matching the job criteria. How does Vasi does the stack ranking and will make sure that the stack ranking is accurate? If the data on resume, am I right? If the data on resume is not correct or is fake, then how do we kind of weed them out? Is that the question? Right? Okay, so if you would have kind of understood, there are multiple stages of weeding them out. The first stage is big data set, then the smaller data set, then the first screening which Vasi does, then the second assessment which happens. All these stages are to weed out the candidates who are not the right candidates, right? Technology, even AI, is not a magic wand. You know how we technically generally say garbage in, garbage out. So technology operates on data sets. If that data set, let's say I've created a data set and that's a fake data set, technology will only be able to tell after validating. Now, how do we validate? Somebody has to question, right? So that's what our system does. First, our system believes in you. Okay, tell us if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Once you say yes, then we validate those things by assessments. Does it make sense? So that's how we are weeding out candidates who are not relevant and who are fake, actually. Thank you. Okay, do I go in sequence or I'll come to you, sir? Yeah, I'll come to you.
And there's one over there.
Using your own language model or dependent on some of the commercial language model. And the second piece of the puzzle is how do you compete with platforms like Recruiter or LinkedIn's Job Seeker or Indeed?
Sure. But we would love to have our own LLMs. Too early for us. We've been bootstrapped. We've gotten to a level wherein we have all this traction. So we currently have a few different models which we are operating on, right from the paid ones to free ones. So that's what we've built it on. Our team is working on building our own models. That's a little expensive resource. Being bootstrapped, we wanted to be cognizant and mindful about what we are spending, where we are spending, and set up priorities. Therefore, we've kind of kept it on buying versus building right now. The second question you had was around the competition, right? when we look at HR tech space, it's highly, highly competitive, and we all know that. Despite of that, even today, there is no single winner. Although we have Microsoft as one of the competitors with presence on LinkedIn. You talk to any TA leader, they're still struggling with these problems. One, time to hire, cost per hire, quality of hire. I myself have done a research talking to 50 top leaders in the industry, and they all are dealing with one problem, which is recruiters do not have time.
To do the speaking thing.
You post one job, they have tons of applications coming in, and they don't know what to do with it. Right? So, long story short, there are a lot of competitors. When I take an example of ZipRecruiter is a job board. It is not an automation. Our exact competition is more of like Greenhouse, iSIMS, Bullhorn, and so on and so forth, right? So we actually cut across right from a job board to an ATS to an automation system. So it's a combination of all three. Does that make sense? Thank you.
Those two, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay. Okay.
One comment and one question. My first comment is maybe your interviewees are saying that their recruiters they don't have enough time because they keep firing them. I don't think there's a role in tech or business anywhere that's equal downside to the recruiters in the last 5 years. Question though, you covered the whole hiring stack. Which step do you do better than anybody else?
Screening. So in a conventional system, if you look at a recruiter, when they post a job, they get hundreds of resumes, right? And they have to manually screen each one of them. There is no tool right now which does it. What we are doing, the way we are doing it. So LinkedIn does it, so there is a dumb form which they give you. Who fills that form these days?
Yeah. Well, LinkedIn's bad on purpose, so you give them $20,000.
Even if you do that, it still doesn't work for you, right? My other business spends a lot of money on LinkedIn, but my recruiters were bleeding. Again, you post a job, in 2 hours, you have 150 applications. What do you do with them?
You message all of them to send video, and the more people who actually
No, even video, somebody has to sit and watch that video. How do you solve that, right? So even if it's a 2 minutes video, 100 applications, 200 minutes. Yeah, so screening, assessments is something where we are killing it. On top of it, the way we've created those scorecards, taking feedback from the interviewer itself is a pain. Yeah, which a lot of bigger tools have not. I'm surprised that why they've not solved it as yet. But I think that created an opportunity for us to be here. And that's how we've built it. The scorecards is another area which we've built and people are pretty happy with. The third is there has been a trend of lately, especially post-COVID, which is offer to joining ratio, which means if we make 10 offers, how many people are joining in eventually? So that ratio has been killing most of the organizations. So we built a platform which does most of the engagement even after the offer, and does prediction that, okay, there is a lack of engagement, therefore this offer may drop, right? So that you can be better prepared. Yes, that's how most of my experience has been with these larger organizations, and I knew that the entry barrier there is going to be too high for me to get in. So while building this platform, I had this in mind that I will also have foot in the door by only giving them the service they may need. So you've got 10 different tools working, but this is missing. Can I just come in and plug in with this? So that brings my entry barrier lower for these organizations. So answer is yes, you can pick and choose services.
Let's make this a quick answer, okay? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
For the purpose of professional reference checks, is there any automation or scheduling that is offered by the platform?
We are partnering for reference check and background check. Although we can solve it, we have not kind of gotten into it as yet, and not in the near future we are planning to get in. Yeah. Thank you everyone.
All right, so there we go. So we host a lot of these events, and I believe very strongly in the idea of the business viability is one thing, and your ability to communicate that to a community of people or to an individual is another challenge. And so for that reason, we invite in a speech coach, a communications coach, from GK Training, and so we've had Ahmed at many of these. So we get it's a big pain in the ass for them to get here. Most of the trainers are in New York. I know you all come from far away too, but they donate their time to us. So we get a big round of applause for Ahmed for coming.
Called GK Training. So I'm going to give you two pieces of advice. The first is content related, the second is delivery related. We had a brief conversation before he started actually around storytelling, and something that you did when answering the question was highlight all of the points in a particular story that you could have used in your demonstration. So when you're talking about screening, for example, we can create that context in the moment of the presentation. I'm a recruiter. I have to screen 100 applicant resumes. Oh no, I have this problem now. What's the solution? My software. By placing it in context with material ideas, vivid language, that gives us a sequence of what's happening, it keeps us curious, and then creates the problem for you, rather than just highlighting it informationally. So that's content. As far as delivery, so much great stuff happening. You're speaking with enough volume for us to adequately hear you, you're not mumbling, lots of linguistic precision, meaning you're not using a ton of filler language to fill time, all very precise. The area that's betraying you a little bit is some wandering feet. So you started somewhere around here, and you ended somewhere back here, which is common. A lot of people tend to move a lot, and it's a consequence of a lot of things. You're saying to keep time, which is absolutely right, but it's distancing you from the audience and creating a distraction that they may start to focus on rather than the information they're giving you. Interestingly enough, however, when you were answering questions, you tended to stay somewhat in this region. There was a little bit of back and forth, but you were otherwise pretty grounded, largely because you were focused on answering the question rather than on your own performance about how you were doing or how much you were keeping time. So there was something else that was performance-based that was distracting you, but when you were answering questions, it was about the audience. It was about focusing on answering their question. Now, that's a kinesthetic or a physical reaction to a performance-based worry. The way to address that is to do so physically. And I'm going to give you a quick tip to address wandering feet. When you're practicing this, take off your shoes and stand on them. That way you'll know anytime you move. Then you can move whenever you like, but you have to put your feet back in your shoes, walk to a new spot in the room, and then take your feet out of your shoes and stand on them again. That will give you some grounding, and you'll also find that it will do things like slow you down, give you a moment to breathe, which will ultimately make some of your sentences more succinct. A positive feedback loop will unlock, and a lot of other things will improve as well. Well done. Yep.
All right.
Hi everyone. Hey everyone. Can you hear me?
Hold it a little closer.
Hi everyone, I'm Saurabh Gupta. I'm the co-founder of Binocs. At Binocs, we are automating M&A diligence for private equity, CVC, as well as corp dev groups. You know, I've been doing M&A
hold that mic a lot closer. There you go.
I've been doing M&A for over 15 years. I was a partner at KPMG. What I realized doing this is it's a very time-consuming process. Lots of expensive analyst resources are spent in doing this, and it's very error-prone. So when GenAI came in, I realized the potential of using GenAI to do M&A due diligence, and that led me to start this company. What Binocs does is it's an agentic AI platform that essentially takes all the inputs that a private equity analyst or investment banking analyst or a consulting person would take, external data, deal room documents, any financial information, and you run that through the AI system that we have, and it creates all the documents that are needed for the due diligence piece, whether that is financial due diligence, commercial due diligence, industry research, we can do all of that. Today, I'll give you a demo on 3 different products. I'll quickly run you through the demo. First is industry research. Industry research is a big problem with all the corporate strategy groups, corp dev groups. You know, when you're entering a new, when you're starting a new product, when you're entering a new market, you really need to understand how to do quick industry research. For that, I'll show you a demo on how you can do things that took 3 weeks, 4 weeks, how you can do that in 20 minutes. That's one. Second, if you have a company and you wanted to do a commercial due diligence for that particular company, you can put that company in, you can put the SIM or related deal documents in, and you can get something that I used to build, in 4 weeks. I used to charge $500,000 for that. You can build that very quickly in 2 hours. And then finally, I would lay out financial due diligence, how you can do financial due diligence through AI. Those are the 3 demos that we are going to do. Let me start first with the industry research. So this is our industry research platform. Here you can kind of click on industry research, put in whatever industry research that you want. It will start by identifying which are the segments that you would want to include in your report. Once you select the segments that you want, you can generate the report. It takes about 15 minutes. The answer comes out something like this. And you can download it in PowerPoint, which most of the bankers or consultants typically use. It's about a 200-page report, and it has a pretty good detail about what the industry is, what is happening in the industry, what is the current state of the industry, what is the outlook. It will go into what are the industry segments, what are the detailed industry trends, value chain. We'll look into who the customers are, what are their key purchasing criteria. It would really help you evaluate what the market size is. It will kind of scrape through the internet to try to figure out what are different sources for market size. It will bring it all together. It will generate a view on what the industry size is. It will lay out what the drivers are for growth. Is the industry defensible? Typically, when a private equity company wants to go into a particular industry, it wants to figure out if it's a sustainable industry, if it would be disrupted by a new entrant. So you can kind of get a suggestion around that. You can go deep into competitive landscape. You can figure out who the competitors are. Which segments do they play in? How are they positioned? It can go deep into financial analysis of the competitors, and it will help you identify potential inorganic opportunities. So all of this in about 15 minutes. So if you are a marketing organization, if you're looking to understand a particular industry for your new clients, you can kind of use that. You can just understand what that industry looks like. So that was the first demo. The second demo that I wanted to show you was, if you had a particular company that you wanted to analyze, if a private equity company wanted to analyze a particular company, how could it figure out whether this is a good company to get into or not? So what you do here is something, it starts with, typically when a deal started, you have a deal room document, you have a bunch of deal documents that are in there. What you would do is you would start a deal, you would throw in all those deal room documents, and you would generate the investment memo. So this investment memo is then built, and that investment memo really looks at, what is the merit of this investment, what are the areas of further diligence, what are the growth opportunities, and then goes deep into the company, what the key products are, what the distribution channel. It then incorporates the industry that the company is operating on, and then really helps figure out if this particular company is well positioned in that industry or not. So we kind of take the industry analysis and extend it to the company analysis as well. Finally, we can also do financial due diligence. So here all you need to do is you need to throw in all the financial statements that are coming in. Once you throw the financial statements, the AI would read through all the financial statement, income statement, etc. If you have your own LBO models, you can kind of create a map view. You can edit the mapping, and then it will basically analyze the full financial statement. It would analyze, whether this company is good financially, well positioned financially, or should you pass on that. So essentially, it will look at all the major ratios and will do the financial due diligence. There's a lot more in there, but let me pause here. Those are the three things that I want to talk about. So with that, let me pause here for any Q&A.
I'm curious about your approach to handling sensitive data and ensuring that like if you upload documents are pretty secure.
Yeah, we have a
Just repeat the question because it's hard to hear.
The question here is how do we maintain the confidentiality of the document? How do we maintain that other people are not seeing it? That different companies have parallel have a wall. So we have SOC 2 certification plus the way that we have engineered our AI systems. Really maintain that difference. We have no retained relationship with all the different LLMs that we are using. We use an ensemble of LLMs to kind of really get this answer done. So we have built in a lot of different security mechanisms here.
Just a question. So it looks like you can generate some pretty amazing reports out of it. Is it also a chat function where you can ask questions of that data and then make modifications through the AI chat?
Yes.
It is?
Yes, we have a chat bot. So if you wanted to look at inorganic opportunities and wanted to say, hey, I actually want more inorganic opportunity in a particular state, it will kind of run that and will get you a different answer.
Say you use an ensemble LLM.
Yeah.
How do you manage these different LLMs? How do you integrate?
Right. Yeah, so what I've looked to do is I've tried to replicate the way that an investment team works, like a working group is. So we have a PE partner who their job is to essentially, and these are all AI agents that I'm talking about. So we have a PE partner agent. Their job is to make sure that the answer that is coming is correct. So for that, we use models that would do well there, like reasoning models. Then there are some agents that are going out and getting the data and acquiring the data. So there are all these LLMs that have web scraping capabilities and are the most recent. So for that, we'll kind of build those data, that LLM out. So we'll kind of combine it together, make sure like it's working like a working group in an investment process, and that's how we build it.
To add to that question, how do you deal with hallucinations?
Yeah, typically hallucination happens when you ask a broad question. So the way that we have built it is we have built, the way we have engineered it is we have very, very small prompts that add up to the right answer. So that's one trick about kind of getting hallucination out. If you ask a broad question to an LLM, it will start to hallucinate. If you start to ask very pointed question, it won't hallucinate as much. So we do that, but we also don't really use LLM answers to build a report. What we do is we do a lot of it's a different architecture that we use that kind of goes out to the web and really gets the articles out. And then LLM is used more for synthesis rather than for its knowledge. So we don't use LLM's knowledge.
I know like $1 million decisions are going to be made on this report, right? So how do you ensure the integrity of the statistics and data that you provide in the report?
Yeah, we
Just
have.
Step forward so I can set up some other stuff. You're good. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's been one of the biggest point here. The quality of these reports is super important. There are many of these competitors out there that when we trialed it out, they were kind of mixing up industries, they were mixing up company names. We have spent a lot of time trying to make sure that the quality is right. So again, it's sort of how do you train the agentic models? What kind of guidelines do you put in? What kind of key variables do you pass? So again, this is a work in process. We already have clients who are using it. and so far the quality has been really good. For industry report, I'm happy to give trials to anyone who wants it, but for deals, I'm still not seeing the quality that I want to get. So for that, I'm doing deals more on an ad hoc basis, but industry report is out there from a subscription model.
Hi, I'm Kylan. I just wanted to wonder if there was a specific segment of an industry that you focus on, such as, for instance, like you mentioned before, like automotive, mechanical engineering, like different STEM industries. Is there a specific one that you focus on, or is it more general?
Yeah, so the way that we have structured it right now, it can go through a broad range of industries. What we have found is some of the latest industries, if you ask AI, LLM kind of industry report, it may not give you the best answer. But for private equity companies, they are really looking at industries that are well established. And so for those kind of well established industries, this tool works very well. But for some of the new age industries, it's not working as well. But and for some geographies, like this is a worldwide report. You can use it for any geographies, but it works better where you have more data. So it works well so I have people working this in US, in Australia, in Dubai, in Europe. So it works quite well there. In India, it works quite well there. But in places where you don't have data, it doesn't work that well.
Sorry, I just have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned the geographical distribution of your product, do you plan to support multiple languages?
That's a good question. We are working with some Saudi, investment firms as well. They want to have the support, the Arabic support, which we are looking to provide, and Spanish support. Those are two additional languages that we are looking at.
Thank you.
Last question right here.
I have two questions. First is that you mentioned that when the product does when product does analyze the data, right? It does small prompts. But what's the difference between someone who's a good, maybe not a prompt engineer, but who can make a good enough prompt to get this? You can get almost the same results. Maybe I'm not sure, but if you use ChatGPT, the paid version, you write a good enough prompt, you would use the research option. You can get what's the difference of the outcome you can get? And then also my second question is that it's AI, it's programmed, so it can make mistakes. It can be better than human decision. But how can this product replace human intuition when analyzing data? And because this works only on methods that has already been trained on. And how does this compare to someone who's a trained data scientist or a data analysis who can come up with new approaches to solving problems that could be very specific to some very niche industries?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, both good questions. For one, if you look at an LLM and try to run like a deep research, for example, the structure of that may or may not align with how the private equity company looks at things. So here I'm kind of bringing the experience that I have working on 100+ deals to sort of structure the report in a form. And I'm just talking about industry report. Once you start to look at financial analysis, the LLMs cannot do the financial analysis. So, the LLMs can really just compete a little bit on the industry side, but even there, it's not exactly apples to apples. And once you start to do company and financial analysis and synergy analysis and those kind of things, the LLMs do not have the data. There's a lot of integration with specific data sets that are built in that LLMs don't have. So that's the answer to your first question. And the second question, we are really focused on high volume deals. So when a private equity company is looking at deals, they are evaluating hundreds of deals to get to 5 deals that they want to do. We're not looking to replace the 5 deal process. We're looking to kind of take the 100 deal process that they have, and there they are just going on gut, and instinct. So we are just looking to provide more information there so that they can make a better decision. I think ultimately the human element in evaluating the deals will remain there, and you can always support it a little bit, but that would always be there.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. You're up.
Hi, so very well done.
Okay. Can you guys actually scoot up so I can set up this table?
This was a nice counterpoint to Razi's presentation because there were somewhat opposite areas of strength and areas of opportunity. You were quite physically grounded, which created a sense of ease in terms of what we were paying attention to. There wasn't a physical distraction that threatened to pull our focus, which was great. The area of opportunity for you and where you can find more dynamism is in a sense of vocal variety. In the way in which you are manipulating the qualities of speech, primarily because those qualities of speech help orient the audience. They create an emotional relationship between you and your message. They provide meaning, they emphasize operative words, they create distinctions between different topics. Now, the areas that I'm talking about, we have categorized with 5 key words. Pace, which is your rate of speech. Pitch, which is how high or low you're speaking. Pause, how frequently you rest. Power, how loud or soft you're speaking. And placement, which is where in the body your voice is resonating. And in your case, there's an opportunity to vary your pacing, your pitch, and when you pause. Now, conventional wisdom often states pretty concrete suggestions around what is valuable with communication. Make large sweeping gestures, speak in the lower quadrant of your voice, hold eye contact for a specific set of time. That is categorically false. Research has shown that variation is the key, that we evaluate a person's level of authenticity according to that variation. The reason why that is important, we can highlight by our attention to the air conditioner. When it turns on, we notice it. Over time, we start to forget it's on. Then when it shuts off, we remember it again. Our brains are designed to recognize patterns, evaluate whether or not it's something that we have to pay attention to. If it's not a threat, we stop paying attention. So constancy in the qualities of speech, or really anything that we do with other people, is deadly. You will lose your audience as soon as they recognize a pattern and their brain shuts it out. Now, we have a whole series of techniques to help cultivate a sense of vocal variety, but a very easy thing that you can do that we often neglect when we're speaking to a group of people is to make eye contact. And I don't mean that by holding eye contact like a noun. I mean using eye contact to evaluate whether or not the people in the audience are responding to you. And if they're not, that's an opportunity to change things up. Either to vary your pitch or to simply stop talking for a second and see what happens to your audience. Use eye contact, make one-on-one connections with the people in the audience that you can see. That will inform you as to whether or not you need to change things.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good job, both of you. Thank you very much. Can we get, it's a nerve-wracking thing to come up here and pitch your company. No matter how many times you've done it, you're still very exposed to showing off this thing that you've built. So can we get a big round of applause for both of them for showing off this program? And meanwhile, can we welcome up Jennifer Hill from ThoughtRiver as our featured speaker. And while she comes up, high five your neighbor. Say hello. You have a mic, yes?
I do.
Okay, good. Yes.
All right.
So I've known Jen for a long time, it turns out.
A really long time.
Yeah.
Almost as long as, a little bit long.
A long time.
Long time.
Like
More to
a
say
decade.
later. Yeah, at least.
I'm very happy to welcome you to the demo night experience. Can you share with people a little bit of your background?
Sure. I am the CEO of ThoughtRiver, which I'm delighted to share with you in a bit. It's an enterprise-grade AI contract review. Prior to that, I was the Chief Operating Legal Officer of a company called Remedy Analytics, which in short, reverse engineered prescription drug pricing to make it cheaper. And we did that through data. We sold that company a few years ago. And for many years before that, I was a practicing attorney, both in venture capital, startup, M&A, all those good things at two large firms that focus on tech companies.
How'd the drug pricing thing go?
really well. You'd be amazed. I mean, if you always wonder why your bills are very odd and you can't understand the pricing relation, that's not a bug, that's a feature.
Fantastic. We appreciate that. How is AI changing the legal industry right now?
In so many ways that are both fast and slow. So most people, I will even say myself included, look at the legal industry, as either you've got your solo practitioners who are doing a lot with a little, and you've got big firms who have endless resources and charge a lot of money. And AI is disrupting everything up, down, sideways, and in between. From the way that you do research and you try cases, to the way that you draft contracts, the way that you remediate contracts, to even things like how you bring claims and whether you're going to be more or less litigious. So pretty much every area.
So legal is one of those industries, was sort of, depending on when your starting point was, that was considered like the low-hanging fruit for AI. A lot of repetitive tasks, a lot of text-based data that AI can ingest. Have those promises come true, or is there still a long way to go to make AI my lawyer?
It's a long way to go to making it a lawyer. It's doing a really good job now automating tasks, simple in the way that we've done other kinds of software automations, and it's doing those better and faster. And it's taking away some of the work off lawyers' plates. It still requires a lawyer review, and we're constantly kind of refining and getting that further along in different task areas. So I'd say we're still at the very early stage of a very large industry.
What's your vision for this industry? We can talk about ThoughtRiver specifically, but in general, how do you imagine, I don't know what the timeline should be, but a few years from now, not 10, but like in 1 to 3, AI is changing the legal industry, and more so like from the client perspective. What might I be able to do that used to cost me a whole lot more?
Well, here's what I hope will happen, and I'll give a little background on what ThoughtRiver does. So we are enterprise-grade AI contractor. You're throwing in things like NDAs or procurement agreements or even very esoteric industry agreements into AI. It's telling you what's wrong with them, why you want to negotiate it, and how to fix it. And in a few years, you want to be able to do that very sophisticated agreements for 2 things. One, so you get your answers faster, and in some cases, you're going to negotiate yourself. But the more important thing is that the business model of law will hopefully continue to change. Because a lot of that knowledge now is at the very expensive, $1,000 plus attorney level, and we want to try to make that knowledge accessible to more people so they have access to sophisticated tools.
How many people here have taken some legal document and uploaded it to ChatGPT for advice? Me too.
Yeah.
Is that, the easy question.
Yeah.
Is that a good idea?
So I would say, as with all lawyers, we say it depends on a couple of things. How important is that agreement? How complicated are those terms? And complication doesn't necessarily mean hard language to read. It's how it's written. And how comfortable do you feel reviewing the output? A lawyer and a non-lawyer, or 2 lawyers of varying experience can do the same thing. And the output will be different, by the way, every if they put the same contract into GPT or one of the other models. But when it comes out, they'll look at it with a different eye. So the way I looked at AI, if it's really working well, is for a trained lawyer, it should be cutting down 80 to 90% of the work, which is an opportunity on the business model side. It allows you to respond quickly to your client. For a non-lawyer, for many things, you're still going to always want a human in the loop, but there should be a lot of things that you probably could do on your own where the AI is helping you become a better advocate.
So would you suggest, for those of us, myself included, who have uploaded these documents, that we should not trust the results, or the advice that ChatGPT or whatever model people are using?
I'd say that it's not, what you can trust is not even, and the scores that are published as to how accurate it is, it's not necessarily doing it in the same way that lawyers track accuracy. So buyer beware. It's very different than specialized models that are truly trained from the beginning and are looking at it in the same way a lawyer would. And remember that all these public models are not trained just on the law, they're trained on the internet, and the law is a very small portion of that.
So how can, there's also this expectation issue, right? I think illustrated even with that response. How often do you expect an attorney to get it right versus AI today?
Well, that depends on what, are you matching it to the task? so, I always get questions from friends or whatnot saying, my cousin's a personal industry lawyer. Can I give him my all my venture capital contracts?
Yeah.
To look at for my deal because I want to save money. And I would say, no, because as good as that lawyer may be in that field, there is really specialized knowledge.
Yeah.
And so you think about that in terms of AI as well. Are you applying the right model and the right tool to the task? Is there that still right level of knowledge? And that will tell you, is it something that you can trust and what level you can rely on it? What I think the flip side of that question is attorneys are starting to adopt some of this technology in different places. And while there is concern, like in every industry, is AI going to replace my job? Is AI going to be my lawyer? The real question is, at what point do you start changing your model and how you relate to the information? So if you think about the law firm model, if you're a first-year associate, there's several layers of people who are checking the book. And so you really have to think about, is the AI that I have equivalent to someone who's in law school, someone who's a first-year law student? Where are they? And then set your expectations that way. And I think a lot of lawyers expect it to be just as good as them and to look at it that way from day one.
Well, first I want a baseline, because you're saying don't trust ChatGPT, which I think we all understand why. Do you trust a lawyer's first pass?
Depends on who the lawyer is.
Yeah.
And, as a lawyer, would I say, would I sign something that I've not looked at all, even if I've had the greatest lawyer look at it? I would say the amount of time that I spend reviewing that document changes based on who did. And that's the opportunity that AI has in the legal field. Ideally, if it's done with the proper models and trained in the right way, it's reducing the amount of time that lawyer has, so you're building trust. Yeah. And then that's an opportunity for the lawyer to then build trust and change models for clients.
For anyone, just as practical advice, because I am trying to lock you down to an answer on this. If we're trying to get legal advice,
yeah,
can we use ChatGPT and ask good questions? Is the prompting the thing? Or you're just saying I know you're a lawyer, so it's so hard for you to answer this, but or are you just saying no, you can't rely on it, don't bother?
I think there's basic questions that you can ask it. I mean, you can ask perplexity legal questions, and it will show you what the sources are, and you can check those sources. And I think that's the bit. What I do think, again, this is a trained or an untrained eye, a simple question. Is there a reason I should incorporate my company in Delaware versus California? Yeah. One of the models will probably give you a reasonable answer and help educate you. But are you going to then take that output and go to your lawyer and make a business decision on that? Well, it's not just one answer. There's going to be a bunch of other considerations. And being able to prompt engineer your way around and thinking through all those considerations, it's not there yet because you're asking it to think for you.
Yeah.
So I would say absolutely ask your questions and become more educated, but realize it's not going to substitute for human making decisions, and that's where you still want a lawyer.
So it begs the question that this industry needs to change, right? Lawyers charge hundreds or thousands of dollars an hour. Yet if they embrace these tools, which I know you happen to be selling one of them, but if they embrace these tools, the models can change dramatically. I might walk in the door having done some of this research ahead of time, come to be more prepared to have the question with the attorney, and we could go back and forth with it potentially. Have you found that the industry has caught up to the change? The hourly model seems like its days are numbered.
It depends on the area of law. So there are some places where it's caught up really quickly. There's a really interesting company called Rossa Legal that's taking advantage in a positive way of the opportunities for technology companies to replace legal services in states where that's allowed. And they're using that to expunge records, criminal records. And for certain felonies or misdemeanors, that is something that certain states allow you to do. That's traditionally something that lawyers have done, and is not always within the cost range that people can afford. But through AI and technology, they can bring that cost down to a few $100s. I think that's a great example of where it can be done, and you can essentially scale the impact of the lawyer. There's a lot of really good things going on in the personal injury space. There's a company called Binocs that's doing that, and they're using AI to reduce the amount of time and the quality of the documents that are going over when they're trying to assist PI lawyers with claims. And there's a huge time savings and a huge settlement benefit to that. So there are places where it's more ripe for adoption quickly,
sure,
and those models are changing.
Yeah.
But each area of the law, like each discipline, it's going to take a different time frame to do that. So if you're paying corporate lawyers thousands of dollars an hour right now, that's not going to go away overnight. But the hope is that as these tools become more common, that they will change some model, because it needs changing.
I know there's an attorney, at least one in the audience. What would you recommend to that person or persons that they embrace to be competitive, besides it being an advertisement for ThoughtRiver,
Right.
but generally, there is also a window when industries are slower to change, for others to embrace that change and find a competitive edge. What would you recommend to those? I know this is really a single person question, but I think it's relevant more broadly.
I think it's a great question because AI has the ability to help accelerate the human and help scale the attorney's impact. And so, to attorneys out there, I would say think about where you have your greatest impact and where you would like to have more impact, and how can you save time in something that AI can help you with that allows you to scale your impact in other areas. That whole concept is going to change the profession. It's going to change how we train. It's going to change who's at the table negotiating deals. It's going to change all of that because at some point, as we use technology more, the humans don't matter less, they actually matter more. And there's things that we can do always that will be different from the computer, and that's where we have to start leaning.
Yeah. What have you seen? Oh, we had a question before to one of the startups I think is very relevant here. How do you think about the idea, what seems like the inevitability, that at some point the model, we'll just use ChatGPT as the provider here, catches up, is as good as, in this case, ThoughtRiver, but in general, like there are early stage startups that have been wiped out or are now struggling because some new release from OpenAI. How do you stay ahead of that curve?
That goes back to, assume that any business model you have that was pre-AI is going to change, and you're not going to be in control of the pace of it at all, but you can control how you engage with your clients and how you change how you define your value to those clients. So the more that it catches up and the more people can use it, you have to be that much smarter about using it as a tool to help you and what you or your company uniquely offers.
So one of the things we talk about a lot with BetterFutureLabs is how do we create a moat around the business? Is there something that you do with ThoughtRiver that gives you a competitive edge? Should tomorrow OpenAI release something that's as legally sophisticated, is there something else, other data sets or something else that ThoughtRiver can do? And I'm also thinking more broadly that you'd recommend to people as they think about how do they build a moat for longevity in their businesses?
Think about where your IP comes from. I mean, ThoughtRiver is nearly a 10-year-old company, and I've been CEO for about a year. And so there's a really large and strong IP moat because the company started pre-GPT in natural language processing and machine learning. And there is a different approach to that is very timely and very expensive. That's why companies are starting with wrappers now, because you can do it quickly. And it's pretty darn good on a lot of things. But when you combine those two things together, it is really powerful. So whether it's training your own models, it's building your own data set, proprietary data set, we train our own models, 100% trained on legal documents. When you build that up over time, things perform differently.
Yeah.
So you do have to think about how you build your IP moat.
I have a few more questions and I'll open it up. If you have questions, just raise your hand in a minute. There are some younger people in the audience, and I'm sure there are older people too who are thinking about career changes because of the advancement of AI. You've been an attorney with a more, from at least my generation, our generation, traditional career path. Then in tech, and then a board member, and now a CEO of a tech company. What advice would you give young people as they're thinking about building a business or joining a company, but the future of their career path?
That there's no rules anymore, and that's awesome because that means that you get to create them. Well, when we started out, there were very defined career paths, and I feel grateful to have grown up in a time where the internet was burgeoning and technology was growing so quickly to see that actually there's a ton of paths that are not defined yet, and it's really exciting if you have the ability to help define those. So, by no means go to great places and learn, but realize that everything is out on the table now and everything is changing so quickly. A lot of it is making the most of what you offer, learning as much as you can, trying to figure out how are you going to, what is your best and highest use and how you can create that in the world.
How have you seen, jumping into the CEO seat, what have been some of the challenges that you inherited or have dealt with just in, it's a relatively small business. Yeah. There is some legacy there, which I think brings extra challenges, not necessarily opportunity. So what were some of the things you had to quickly address, and how have you leaned on a small team to do big things?
Part of it was, so to give you a little bit of background about ThoughtRiver, is actually largely a UK company. We work in the UK and the US, so not only is it a new team, there's two geographies to work with. And I think part of it is building trust really quickly with your team. And I would say that we all did that really well together, and that made the transition a lot more seamless. in terms of opportunities, the legal market is a really good test case for disruption, but it also takes a very long time to make decisions. And because of the partnership model that happens within law firms, which is part of our client base, the other parts are in-house corporate and mid-sized companies that may not necessarily have legislative departments. Those cycles look different.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I'm grateful for is that there's so much education in every area of AI that it's bringing people along a little bit faster than the industry might take them on their own.
I've built businesses before where the timing wasn't right. My first business was an online food ordering business when I was in college in 1998. When I'd go to a restaurant, people would say, like, no one's ordering food online, what the hell are you talking about? It sounds, ThoughtRiver started in 2015. Like, was it slightly ahead of its time? Was timing a big issue and what made it work?
It absolutely was ahead of its time. And it's only in the last few years that I think the rest of the industry is starting to catch up, but in very different ways. My journey with this company actually started as a client. So I was actually one of their first clients. And we had such a hard use case. They were the only one crazy enough to do it. But the fact that they could do that many years ago was pretty incredible. Whereas at the time, it was focused on a lot of other things. So timing is everything. But that can be a positive and a negative. But I would say we are as many companies as there are in the legal tech space. We're still at the beginning of this journey, and there's so much ahead.
And what do you tell people who talk about, like, it's a very competitive space? When I go into a market and I see a certain amount of competition, I see it as a validation signal. When there's a certain more, it's perhaps a little too late to get into it, or just a harder industry to get into. Mm-hmm. How do you think about the competition? Like, I agree with you, there's a long way to go, but there's enormous amounts of money in some very large, at least large on valuation companies in the space. How do you think about competition? Is that like a welcome signal, or does it make you, keeping you up at night?
I'd say it's both. And just that, everyone's got envy of some other company out there or what's happening in a different industry. I mean, that doesn't have to be sort of related to your own. It focuses the mind on what do we do better than anyone else and how do we get that out into the world better and faster. But also the board is changing so quickly. There's so many more people entering and acquiring companies and combinations that you wouldn't necessarily have seen before, which to me means that the rules that we would normally apply to a competitive space are also changing. Yeah. So I look at it as, honestly, anything could happen. You've got to make some things happen. The world's going to move as it is. So it's opportunity. And if you think about how much legal work there is, and I'm a big fan of the more access to justice, the better. And I look at AI as a way where ideally we are all better educated and better able to advocate for ourselves in every aspect of our lives, and AI can help us do that. And so when you think about it, not in terms of the traditional legal business model, but making everybody to be better participants in the legal system and participate in a number of ways. That market's so big that the competition actually seems pretty small by comparison.
Any questions? Yeah.
I have a question. First of all, Jennifer, thanks very much for stopping by. And I looked up your company, it was fascinating, legal documents. I have a question about AI, machine learning being used in the government. They generate a lot of paperwork, a lot of legal documents. All the precedents, all the bills that were passed, decisions that were made, I think that would be perfect for machine learning and running the government using AI and machine learning. How do you feel about that?
So I think the question is, can AI replace the government? And how many of us would like to see that happen right now?
I think AI can do a lot to make a lot of things more efficient and accessible, and that's a whole different sales cycle.
Yeah, it sure is. There were a couple here. Yeah, go ahead.
Jennifer, with respect to your system, does it analyze any contract from a third party?
It can. We do really well on third party. Well, the biggest benefit that I can bring in that regard is that, as a former attorney, I am the client, and I literally was a client of this company, which I know is a really novel journey to being the CEO. So it goes a long way because not only can I stand in our client's shoes, even hypothetically, I did before, but also as a practicing lawyer, you want both at a firm and house facing, which is, usually very little budget, shrinking teams. We're in a firm with a huge pressure for billable hours. So there's really not that much incentive for efficiency. And I say it's a high-end contract for the private no high. So it's really helpful that someone understands their problems and can also help them build the solution. I think the best way to describe the legal market is attorneys don't have time to sort of themselves time, which is true. And when you think about it that way, it changes the communication in a very good way.
They're also disincentivized to sit in that. So there's tension in, anyway, build this tool, it saves you time. At least I would think if I'm an attorney who bills $1,000 an hour, I don't really want to save my time. I want, in fact, to increase time.
And that a lot depends on the leadership of the firm. But generally, they're like, I'm too busy and this is going too well. When am I going to find that time to sit and innovate? They don't have it, and the model doesn't give them time. And so that's the change that's harder to do. There are even more lucrative business models that can come from that. But
Do you think it's a generational shift of attorneys that are an AI empowered to like really change this at scale?
Bunch of things. I mean, one, if it comes from the clients, there are clients that are most clients complain about their fees in some shape or form. And the more pressure there is on that, then the more that they will be forced to change. So part of it is just clients going to see. I think the second is, it is getting more and more expensive to employ lawyers at a firm level, and they do have to still look into that. And then we also have to think about all the other things that can be started with AI that can help compete. And this ruling that was done in Utah and Arizona, where you now can have alternative legal service providers, which is a really big thing. So previously, you could not operate and own a law firm unless you were a lawyer, and that's where push that envelope, that opens a whole lot of doors. So, for example, KPMG had a license in Arizona to provide legal services, and to see what they pay. So that's the business model pressure is being really interesting to see how that changes. In-house is quicker to adopt because we're much more connected to the business. They have an incentive to save time. They definitely don't have big budgets, they're not getting these headcounts. So those are kind of all the right things to do that faster.
Yeah. Go ahead, green shirt, Keely. Aaron.
How did you see you have 7 legal bills every year? 2020, my lawyers stopped breaking their office, they stopped writing students, they stopped loading office. Billings went up, rates went up. We're in the year 3 of Gen AI. Billings go up, rates go up. Before business efficient gets up, now I'm asking you addressing.
Yeah.
Try that way, try that acceleration as legal services and outreach being affordable. So are you here to make that might go up faster or do that?
So I would say it's not our choice. Because remember, there could be firms that are, we do have firms that are clients. We have no control over what they're charging the client. In some cases, they're actually reducing the cost because they want to build relationships with more companies and more conserve more companies. In others, they may be making a ton of money. What I would say though is that the more that these tools are out there and working, the more it's starting to change the way that lawyers practices in firms, and that will change the model. I'd love to say they're connected, but they're really not. Over time, it should change.
I want to see that as a zero GDP go down.
I think everybody that.
We'll start back there. I'll come back to the back.
I used to be head of the innovation in my company, and we used to evaluate AI legal companies to help take our legal process easier and more efficient. And one roadblock that we hit was our chief legal officer found it very hard to use a particular use case. For example, in our company, I think soon, they didn't want to use AI to write a contract or find out how to point to take the legal case because they don't want the system to get trained based on our legal that we are compromised how to understand it. So my question to you is, what are similar use cases that would find not to be a good fit for AI-based legal products?
Oh my God, that's a much longer conversation. There are quite a lot, and I would say it's not never, it's just not right now. And that goes back to the expectations there. But a lot of the use cases in it, some of that is legitimately driven by public policy and concern about branding law. Some of that could also be around how the legal department is run and the change management initiative. And a lot of that is not necessarily within control of the legal department. Some of that comes from the culture of the company. The legal departments are there to manage risk. But managing risk can have a really wide spectrum. And so, there's an unfair legal borders that we're all there to avoid as much risk as possible. And it's actually not true. We're there to help make the right things happen and hopefully prevent the wrong things happening or dealing with them when they do. So, happy to have that conversation.
You're like a winner builder, right? Go ahead.
If the law firms use AI are going to be able to pass on the savings, thereby displace legacy law firms that don't use it.
I would say that the AI adoption that we're seeing most often is not a super expensive form of means, right? When you're seeing the website, it's easier to do that now in different areas of the law. So, for example, personal injury for very small law firms, they already have alternative fee models on the floor that they were already looking at different ways to grab that with small clients. So it stands to reason that many of them will usually adopted the business model change will take time depending on how big the firm is, what firm is practicing in, and then there will be all these alternative service providers that can do tons of different things that will continue to put pressure. So they're going to get pressure in a bunch of different things. But right now, if you are correct, you'll find that actually not being done in a different job.
It just seemed like there's a matter of time before there's just AI first off, but not this like that embraces these tools, things that they build and play. Is that anything that happened as far as you know?
In the US, no, those kinds of things are starting in other countries.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about when I have a and that's fantastic. About some possible opportunities that they have in making the packaging system for
I mean, certainly when patent research and patent prosecution, there's a lot of time savings there. And ideally, it sounds like you've got one person really prosecuting his own patents, right? And you think about all of the work that goes, it's a very expensive and time-consuming exercise. So there's definitely a lot of efficiency in certain things where you want to file a patent, but not just filing patents, doing all of the research, thinking about the claims. And then of course, given when you get a patent filed, then how are you protecting the patent? How are you, that is a well-established industry that is been really for storing. So this is not what I looked into now, but here is how that the salary post.
What's the number one piece of advice you have for someone who is building or who is starting their business in the AI industry?
So the vision that you have, which I'm sure is brilliant, remember that your customers are applying different journeys with you. Some of that is based on their understanding and their fluency with technology. Some of it is especially at the enterprise level, how to access information. Even though we may be used to more complicated systems that work, we use our cell phones every day, and we're used to very low cost and pushing buttons and getting little dopamine that we can do answers right away. And even though those two areas don't cross, it's still in the lead with them. So you've got to bring them on the learning video and realize that everybody's turning to that.
What's something that we all can do to help you?
Oh, goodness. That's a good one. Well, all about enterprise contract review. So any of you folks that are curious about accelerating that.
We give a good round of applause to Jen.
We're almost done. We're going to give away these trophies.
And then we get those problems. 1 second. So, scan that code. Worked over that, or okay, like that. I don't know. Okay, here we go. So, there's some questions to see if you've been paying attention. First one, and the faster you answer, the more points you get. What percent of resumes go unused traditional hiring? 75%, 95%, or 60%. Answer on your phone. Paying attention. Nice job. I advance, yes. Yeah, clapping's good. Let's see who's winning. Rebecca, where are you? All right, good job. Keep it up. You're in the lead. Next one. Fantastic. What is not Binocs offering for customers currently? Due diligence, portfolio monitoring, evaluation services. Not paying attention to the on that one. See how we're doing. Rebecca's still. Oh, hold on. Sorry about that. Where's Dia? Nice job. Here we go. Who should win tonight's Lion Close Work this very fancy trophy? Vasitum or Binocs? 2 seconds to go. I thought you got close to break. Congratulations, Binocs, on your fancy trophy. All right, how often was tonight's event? It was so often until just considering and haven't talked about it. Tonight's event for reality is so long answers. It'll be a canceled season while they're streaming. It's still incredible Kardashian blog program to profit. That does it, Gia. You and congrats for coming out. Thank you all very much. You can do this tonight. You can go ahead and you can always leave to the next one. You can do next one as well. Oh, in New York. I forgot. Next one's in New York. You're going good. Hope you had a good time. You can hang out for a few minutes. Do you need to put chairs away? Would that help you? Oh, you're good. If you have trash, please throw that away. I hope to see you next month in the city. Thanks, everybody.